Okay,
Yeah.
we are live. We have Vikram on the call. Vikram is a friend of mine who I worked with in the very first job that I had. We were just discussing about the last time that he had seen me. I had hair, so it's been very long since we've caught up. And Vikram actually has a company called Hypersign, which
Hypermine.
Hypermind.
And the
So
Hypersign is the product and Hypermine is the
right. So Hypermine is the company and the Hypersign is the product, which is
yes.
aiming to make financial transactions much safer than what they really are at the moment. So Vikram, why don't you give
Yeah.
a little bit of details about what you do?
Currently, I am a co-founder of a company called Hypermine, and as already Heshan mentioned, uh, by profession I'm a full stack engineer, but in my startup I'm literally doing everything except to UI and UX design. Basically, we are building a decentralized identity management system, which is called Hypersign. And Hypersign will help users manage their personal identity and personal information by giving the access back to them and not to the third party. What I mean by that is, like, if you see login solutions like Facebook login or Google login, when you register yourself, you literally have to give all your information to Facebook or Google, and they keep with themselves, but you do not have access to those information. And when you log into another website, you pass your information from Facebook to that website. So you see, every time the control is with a third party, and this is what we want to remove. This is the first one thing. The next thing is your personal information. For example, let's say an example of Flipkart. Flipkart needs your personal information only for very specific things, not to do all the transactions or normally what the website does. For example, if they have to deliver the product to your house, then only they need your address. Otherwise, they don't require your address, right? So, so this Hypersign is basically like a protocol and a set of different softwares which will help first to let Flipkart know who you are by some cryptographic means, which is basically some technical terms, which they can verify who you are exactly, but they will not have your information with them. The second part that Hypersign helps you is manage your user data, like your own personal information. You can onboard on Hypersign. It will be controlled by your own PIN. So you will have a PIN, and it will be, think of it like it is always stored in your mobile phone. So whenever a website would require your personal information, a pop-up will come, and you will only grant access for some very small period of time. Once that is done, automatically that access is being revoked. And not only that, you will have a list of all the websites that you have accessed and all the specific information that you have transferred to them. Think of, like, you are part of an organization. That organization would require some information, but then you are also part of, like, you are also logging into some other websites like Flipkart, Amazon, all these type of websites. So right now you have to manage all these things using user ID, password, and you store it in your browser, which is very, very bad. But if you use Hypersign in future, so all you have to do is scan a QR code, and let Hypersign manage all these things for you.
So basically,
So
you are
in short,
empowering the users to have more control of their data than what they have right now.
yeah, absolutely. And also, not only that, once the user, so there are two sides of it. You know what, when it comes to identity, one is the issuer, like our government or maybe a company, for example, right?
Right.
So they issue identity to you, like you have access to, you have rights to access these application, or government gives you a identity, like issued you an identity like Aadhaar card or Facebook. Now, the second one is the verifier. Verifier is the websites where you would be trying to access. Like, for example, if you onboard to a banking application, they will ask your Aadhaar card or passport, all these, to verify whether you are the right person or not. So these are the two parties which plays role. And right now, the current solutions that are there in the market, every time you have to literally copy paste your information to them, which is why, like somebody in bank or bank is kind of secure. I believe banks are little more secure. But if you see, when you want to buy a SIM card, you give your Aadhaar card to them, literally like photocopy an Aadhaar card and
Yeah.
give to them, right? They keep it. What, I don't know what all they can do with that. But
Yeah.
Aadhaar initially was built just to stop this, but
Yeah.
people are not using that because to have that infrastructure, you need to pay a lot of money. Right now, that is very expensive. So our future scope is that anyone who has a mobile device can become a verifier, and then they can just scan a QR code, your QR code, and they will be able to verify that. So that's little more in technical in depth. All, but you got that right. We want to empower user back with their identity, their money, and their future.
That's great. That's really interesting because it's the need of the hour actually, because data's kind of leveraged away from the users towards different activities. Even banks, they don't use the digital Aadhaar which is present, like you mentioned.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
for
yeah.
the physical copy, which is not needed. They sometimes I've got like certain credit card requests that I've not even applied for. They just use the Aadhaar photocopy
Aadhaar
and
ID to get
yeah.
your, yes,
So
they use your Aadhaar number to basically get all your information, and
yeah,
then from there they give you value added services, which
yeah,
I think is bad, because if they are only supposed to know how much money we have kept in their bank, not
yeah,
all the bank or in total how much I have, right?
yeah,
So that is like really bad. Glad that you brought this up. Usually banks are little slow to move towards any new technology
hmm,
because they deal with people money. But
yeah,
so second thing also we want to do is like slowly, you see, when the identity is decentralized and back to where it belongs, next would be to make bank get out of their centralized uh, uh, solutions that they have into a little more decentralized.
hmm,
Like, for example, you will own all your money, you will keep the money with bank, you will still have all the value added services, like you will get recurring, you can do fixed deposit, you can do recurring deposit, all this is possible. But the control of that money would be with you, and whenever you want you can access that. You don't need to call a bank to do that. So this is where the cryptocurrency has already moved there, but slowly the banking system also has to get there. So
yeah.
probably in future we will see that more.
How long do you think it'll take to? Of course, banks won't move to a decentralized structure as such, but I guess the technology, blockchain technology, will play a much bigger role in banks than what it is right now. How
Yeah,
long
for
do you think
sure.
that transition will take place?
Actually, it has already started. Before this transition to happen, first the technology itself has to become seamless and easy. What I mean by that is like how you see the database, right? Like everyone can, any normal developer can install database and use it. The blockchain technology first has to move. I feel the world is now not controlled, or not controlled, but not driven by the business guys, but rather is driven by the tech guys. This is where I am slowly trying to understand. So what I mean by that, as soon as a tech becomes very easy and like a normal thing, so automatically it starts being accepted by businesses, right? Because businesses main problem is that they should know what is happening with the tech that they're using to solve their problem.
Yeah.
If they don't, they kind of, they don't feel comfortable using that,
Hmm.
because that will hinder their business. So for that, so that is where the blockchain, it's been like around 8 years since all these things blockchain has come out, and slowly it's becoming very normal. So I think another 5 years more, and then you will see everybody moving towards it. Like already people have started implementing in very specific use cases. For example, in identity, that we figured out that it can be used, right? We didn't it's not just cryptocurrency, like it's not just the money, it's also, it can be used everywhere wherever there is a trust problem. And it definitely reduces, it increases the amount of trust between two parties, because it removes a complete third party thing into your whole uh,
Into the
uh,
transaction. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, another 5 years in India, you will see a lot of new companies coming up in these 2-3 years, and then by the time they mature, probably it will. Let's give them let's say 5 years. So in another 5 years, we will have real world applications. Well, no problem at all. The tech
That's
has already moved a lot. Made has become almost like normal in at least for the blockchain community, and slowly it's being accepted. More use case based features, use case based projects have to come out, and we felt that identity was the one of the things, because that gives entry to the whole blockchain world.
that's true.
Like with our wallet, you don't need to be worried about your mnemonics, keys, all these things. So that is automatically managed by the basically by a code, which you can also see how my key to the banking system. So that is the amount of transparency we want to bring back to people.
That's great. That's fantastic for I think consumers as a whole, because their
Yeah,
transactions and their shopping and their everything related to finance
absolutely.
online will be
Consumer
easy.
mindset will change.
Yeah.
The guys who have this Flipkart, I am telling you, Flipkart will change. Like Flipkart will change their business model, not business model, then at least the whole tech stack that they have implemented, because it will be driven by the consumer. Consumer will ask them that, look, I don't want to give you. You go to this type of solutions and integrate in your authentication system, because right now you are taking all my information and then you are keeping in your database and doing whatever you want. And I personally don't like to do that. India will come out with a GDPR law, so that will definitely, when the law comes, the whole country knows about it, right?
That's
And
the
that will be
localization of data, right? That's what the law is about.
yeah, localization of data. And also, you as a enterprise, you need to, or a business, you need to tell your user that these are the data I am keeping and these are the things I am doing with your data. If you don't tell them and do whatever anything out of the contract, then you are basically breaking
Yeah.
the law.
So
So
all the
that is
servers under that law will be in India. That's what they are trying to do, right?
So the law has been in the house, being, I mean, basically
As a bill.
wherever,
Yeah.
assembly for last 3 years, I think 3 or 5 years, 3 years. uh, yeah, and I think this year or the next it should get passed, because
Nice.
you already see a lot of things towards that, right, from the government. So a lot of apps you might have heard or seen, a lot of apps have been banned. These are the just the initial phase of that, and when the law comes, there will be more strict rules.
If data security is such a big concern for consumers, what would you suggest, being in that field, some of the tips that you can give to users to make their data safer?
Yeah. uh, so I want to come from this perspective that we all know that our data is being used and misused, but we know that, right? I mean, there is no another way right now, at least.
Yeah.
Like, so but the second thing which comes is, how do we protect ourselves from, at least, we know that the company who is owning our data is misusing in a way that we cannot stop until you go with all the law and stuff. But we can still protect our information by not getting it stolen, by following very few simple points. For example, the first thing to entry to a website is your user ID and password. Everybody knows that, right? So what I am saying is that whenever you are using user ID password, we have to be like really careful. Use the device which you use. For example, if you are using banking application, then you have to be like fully careful. Even if you're using normal application, all of them, they provide two-factor authentication. The second factor would be in your phone. You put your user ID password, then you
Get an
add a
OTP.
second factor, which is
Yeah.
your Google Authenticator. It gives
Okay.
you a TOTP, that, or they send you an OTP to your phone. So this at least increases the authentication security.
Hmm.
This is one, like, because this is the entry point to any website, and if you can secure that up to some extent, then that means lot of problem can be, you know,
That's
faced.
adding a two-factor authentication is what you mean.
Yeah, so currently most of the websites, they are giving you second factor authentication.
Okay.
So first thing is that use your password very cautiously. Like when you're storing the password, store it on a device which only you use. Don't store it somewhere else which you have never used before. Things like that. Second, and adding second factor. These are the two main things related with password management. The third one is basically clickbait. You know that there will be times when you see very interesting ads or stuff like that, that you would feel like clicking and going there. So I feel that that is one of the major issues right now when your information is being stolen. That clickbait could be like a browser based some sort of, you know, uh, some sort of software which basically runs behind your browser and sees everything that you are trying to do. Although Chrome has tried to stop this up to some extent, but still clickbait is one of the things that we have to be very careful about.
I've seen a
uh,
lot of coming to your point about clickbait. I've seen a lot of um, you know websites which seem very authentic, like they are from Microsoft, Windows support, or they
yeah,
are probably like a Gmail login, which look exactly similar, but they're not you know the authentic original sites. Is that what you
yeah,
mean by clickbait?
yes, that, and also something like probably something which will ask you to send money or something like that.
Okay, okay.
So even that also,
Hmm.
it is same, right? It looks like a Microsoft website or an Amazon website, but when you have purchased and paid the money, you figure out that okay, this is not what it is.
Right.
It was just a clickbait, and I got caught. So
Hmm.
things like that. Fourth one is to, as I said, like since we are very much used to internet, at least in the cities, so we tend to use different Wi-Fi networks, and we do everything in any network possible. Like you are doing banking stuff on the network, Wi-Fi network that you are using in a, maybe in a coffee shop or something like that, right? So then I really have to tell that people have to be really concerned about this. Whenever you are using Wi-Fi, try to not do very sophisticated stuff like banking,
Right.
or your maybe some personal websites, personal information related websites, like
Okay.
government apps, stuff like that.
These are public Wi-Fi networks or even personal networks is what you mean.
No, 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 public Wi-Fi network.
Okay.
If you are in a friend's home, it's not a problem. You know that you can trust on that friend. But if you are in a coffee shop, that is a problem. Like
Okay.
you're not supposed to do banking transactions on a coffee shop. No,
Hmm.
never. Switch on to your mobile internet and then try to do that.
Okay.
That is one. Fifth one is like always remember that you are prone to attack. So be mindful about it. That's all.
Okay. Great. Thanks for the advice, Vikram. I think that'll really help people who are not aware of how to secure their data, how to prevent scams from happening with their data, or like you said, using like a public Wi-Fi network for transactions. A lot of people don't know that that
Yeah.
can be easily hacked and financial information can be stolen, and then the next thing that you're getting some OTP request for X amount of money being deducted from your account, and you have no idea where that is going. So thanks a lot for that. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, technology is progressing, and you see a lot of, scams that are happening, and you also see apps like TikTok being banned, and other Chinese apps that are being banned. What are your thoughts on, those kind of apps being banned in recently in India? The government's action on that.
So first, I will divide it into two parts. One was that the scams. I personally I have been prone to this sort of scam.
Okay.
I want if I if you don't mind, can I tell a story?
Yeah, of course,
Like how
please.
I got scammed, and I I want to tell this because maybe somebody else will also,
Fall for
also
it.
get
Yeah.
caught, yeah, in this sort of scam. So there is this scam called Elon Musk sending double of your cryptocurrency. And how it starts is like you will be in some group, somebody will send a tweet from Elon Musk, and people tend to fall for this because people know Elon Musk can do weird stuff like this. But personally, for me, I got caught because I thought he's doing some sort of testing on which network to use. Honestly, so this was my thing. I did not even did my research that if the websites where whatever it is taking me is correct or not. So the Elon Musk scam is basically that it will come with a tweet that if you send this much crypto from starting from zero point 0.5 ETH to whatever, like say 100 Ethereum, it will double it up and send it back to you. So this is the tweet, and after the tweet, you see a website which says Elon Musk dot Elon Musk M dot whatever, and when you click there, you see in real time the transactions happening and how the money is coming back. But this is just a GIF. It's not even real
It's a
transaction.
ticker that's just, showing
Yeah,
up
it
the loop.
ticker, yeah. So if you come across this, always click on the transaction and see if the transaction hashes are correct or whatever. So first is that I did not verify whether the tweet was correct, because I got a, basically it was a bait for me. I was a bait. So, and I sent the money, but when I sent it, I realized it was a Medium page, right? When you said it really looks exactly same like Microsoft. Medium is a blogging website, you know that, right? And people blog on that. So it literally looks exactly same as Medium, and it looked like it can be an Elon Musk's Medium account, and he's writing a blog and he's saying all this. So it was meant for people like me who have understanding of how crypto works and technically sound about it. Even they can get fooled.
Wow.
So I just wanted to say that, like, even if people like me can get scammed, then anyone else can. So be very mindful about. So there is a philosophy called DYOR, do your own research, right? And in that there are only few points which we need to take care of. One is ask other people about that, whether you have done or heard about something like this. Third one is check the website authenticity, whether it's the correct, which I did not do. And I did not ask anyone because I thought the time is ticking, so I need to transfer quickly to get that double amount, right? So definitely ask someone else. If you don't know, ask somebody. So that is one. Second one is authenticity of the website. The third one is do not hurry up and take your time. So do your own research before clicking or going to any website, before transferring any money. That's or your information. So it's
So
that
they played
simple.
on your, the culpability here was that you had Ethereum, and someone who's clicking on that link is a person who has Ethereum. So they already knew that and they played on that.
Yeah, yeah. So it was very niche. You say that in startup we have to always go to a very niche segment to basically come out with a solution. So they have got a solution, and which is very niche to people like me who are into crypto and who are very sound about technology, because they can only understand that scam. So I got scammed, and anyone else would have gotten scammed for. I'm sure, like, there are so many Microsoft Windows scam, or MacBook scam. Like, they
Yeah.
fix your MacBook, but they charge you a lot of money, but they
Yeah.
are actually not fixing anything. So this sort of scams are there.
Right.
Yeah. So that is one. And the second question that you had asked about the TikTok and Chinese app ban by the government. This is very interesting because it has two sides of it. First, you have to tell me whether I have to be politically correct, or
No, it's
is
up
it.
to you. Like, you can, this is, you have whatever thoughts you have, you can just share it across.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you need to restrain yourself as such.
Yeah. So I personally feel it's definitely a political agenda. Uh, but I will also give you perspective on why it is also good and why it is bad. So for my personal opinion, I am not pro BJP. So for me, I feel that this is a political agenda. Because if they were supposed to ban, the first app I will ban as a prime minister would be Facebook. Honestly, Facebook is the first culprit. They have done billions of dollars of account theft or whatnot. So that has to be banned first, right? If you really want to ban. Now let's come back to why these 59 apps were banned. uh, for keeping my personal opinion aside, so these apps were banned is because they were stealing your personal information without telling you. For example, people who have voluntarily uploaded videos on TikTok, right? We can't do anything for that, because that is, they are telling TikTok that, look, this is my video, I'm uploading it into your server and you can do whatever you want. Give me some value added services like ads, money, or broadcast to multiple people. But in the agreement, TikTok says that with your video, I will be doing all this. You say, okay, I'm fine with that, right? This is how TikTok basically people come on board at TikTok. But what TikTok, apart from that, was also doing is that understanding your background, understanding different people's videos background, then trying to analyze the situation in India or wherever the country. So these things did not, TikTok did not tell people, and they were doing it in behind the scene, right? So which is basically misusing your video for different purpose. And that is the reason apps like TikTok should be banned. Same for Facebook. Facebook uses your information to sell analytics to other companies, and they will say that, okay, no, we are not telling them exactly, but that's not true. They had packages like, okay, for 1 million user record, you pay us this much, whatnot. So this is one. The second one is that some of the apps, those Chinese, out of those 59 apps, when you were logging, you click on login with Facebook, right? So a box opens like a Facebook page, which will have user ID password box. So those apps had those buttons. So you click on that, that Facebook app opens where you put your user ID password. What they used to do is embed a code which used to show you exactly same Facebook app. You will log in, you will get authenticated also. But after the authentication, they used to take information and steal it and send it to some other analytical website, which is not even part of that app. And it was never told to you that your login ID, password, or information is being sent to this third party or some other party of like their partner. So you understand, they are doing a lot of stuff without telling you. So these are the reasons these 59 apps were banned. And one of another friend of mine who is also whose startup is also working in this, they took one of the apps from those 59 and they did some basically research on how their authentication and data management works, and then they figured out this thing, like they were stealing people's identity, like login ID, password basically, and sending it to other apps. So I personally feel it should be banned, but for me, the first app should be banned is Facebook. Not, these are very small players like all the 59. So I gave you both my perspective.
Thank you for that perspective, Vikram. It was really very insightful, because I'm sure like a lot of people will be wondering what the criteria for banning those apps is, and you shed a lot of light on what those different criterias are. Because a lot of these apps these days, even there are quite a few Indian apps also, I think, on the Play Store that without your permission just take your data away. And since it's a political situation right now, the government jumped in and banned those 59 apps.
Yeah, exactly. But the Indian app, they did not say anything because the data center for those Indian app would be in India. So probably government would have already control on the data centers. So they would be like, okay, I can ban the data center itself or get the information from those guys. So first priority should be the apps which are from the other countries, especially. And China was the like best situation, right? If China is trying to put pressure on our on Ladakh or whatever, yeah, on the borders. So this could be a very good answer for that. Like we played with our mind rather than the force, so,
Yeah,
which is a very good thing also. But it is a political agenda.
it is.
It is
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks so much, Vikram. It was great
Welcome.
having you on the call, and I got a lot of insight on how data security functions, and I'm sure people listening out there also will get a lot of insight.
Sure.